Hey everyone, welcome to Founders 365 with me, Stephen Haggerty. Today I'm joined by the founder and CEO of Tippzi, Mr. Vince Patten. How are you today, Vince?
Very good. Good afternoon, Stephen.
Welcome to the show. Awesome to have you here. And I guess let's just jump straight into this conversation with an overview of what Tippzi is and what you guys offer.
Tippzi is affordable ads on smartphones. It's used geolocation, and we're trying to level the playing field for small businesses. Well, SMEs account for 99% of the businesses in the UK,
Yeah,
and they can't compete with the corporates. So that's the main premise. Affordable ads for small businesses. But
nice
we
and
do
simple.
have something for brands as well.
Nice, simple. So I'm always curious when I speak to sort of branding guys, ad guys, marketing guys, that sort of thing. How did you get into this? What was going on in your world that thought, you know what, I'm going to be the one that is going to come up with a solution for these SMEs?
That's a good question, Stephen, because I used to be an entertainer. I used to work all over the world. And then I came to base myself in England. And about 4 or 5 years ago, I'd be using pay-per-click ads like everyone
Hmm.
else. And I consider myself decently clever. And I was having problems because location, keywords, this, that, and whatever. And I thought, if I've got problems, other people have. But then my advertisements, when I was advertising, I found that every 6 month period, my results went down 10, 15%. And after about a year, I was not really making a lot of money from my advertising. It was literally paying to work. Then I
Hmm.
rang my sister, and my sister's got a small business, and she said exactly the same thing. So something pinged in my head. I rang a few other people. They don't understand them. How does it work?
It's
Do I
an
do search?
overwhelming feeling, I think, with a lot of people.
Hundreds of things, time to do it as well. When you've got a business, you haven't got time to work out these things and look up webinars or whatever. But then I went out and I did a bit of, which I recommend to everyone who wants to start a business. I went out in the field and tested the market. I went around some shops and whatever, and I found out same problem. They can't afford them. Small
Hmm.
businesses, especially micro businesses, the 0 to 9 people, all of them, they were all turning to Instagram because it's a free way to do it. I mean, it used to be 3 or 4 years ago, well, sorry, 5 years ago, it would have been Facebook people
Hmm.
would have used to gain social impact. But now, and especially now, it's all Instagram because they can do it, they know how to do it, and it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
So that's what they do.
For you, when you sort of went through that testing phase and thought, actually, like you said, you're not the only one with this problem, and your sister had the problem, and you saw other businesses have the problem, and many businesses obviously still have these problems today. What was it that what was that first initial step for you to think, okay, I've proved that there's a problem. Now it's time for me to come up with a solution, because you've been around for a couple of years now, so it's always interesting to go back then, because social media just moves so quickly.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it. Um, well, I'm doing a lot of dev at the moment because we're upgrading Tippzi from what we learned from being launched before. And even in 6 months, there's certain things we've had to, you just got to redo the way
Because
technology
it's
moves
already out of
forward.
date.
Yeah, it's out of date, but luckily, when you've got a concept, you can just readjust the concept. But
Hmm.
actually, it's an easier way of doing it sometimes because the tech becomes more and more forward. But how I did it was that old thing, who you know, Stephen. I
Yeah.
really believe there's a lot of geniuses out there, far cleverer than me, tech people.
Never.
Well, Stephen, it's just that I actually know a couple of these clever people, and what it is, they've got great genius ideas, but they don't know, they've not got the contacts. Now,
Hmm.
my big luck is I'm an entertainer. I worked over the world. I've got worked for all the big institutions, all the financiers, all the celebrities. So my contact base was very, very big. So I ended up doing a charity gig for children, and there was a guy who was a mentor for the charity from the Shoreditch Partnership, who were an accelerator firm,
Yeah.
and Now, where that makes a difference, Stephen, is I think because I'm doing something for charity, this John Riley guy knew who I was. And then I talk about my idea. He already knows who I am, what I
Yeah.
do. And that is, and also I'm very good at the entertainment aspect of what I do. So I think that's important for people because if you've got a good idea and you're knocking on doors, people don't know who you are. That's why I would say to a lot of people, obviously because of COVID, it's difficult, but networking events do work because it's as simple, Stephen, as I meet you at a network event and you know a lot of people. And then I speak to someone on LinkedIn who's a friend of yours. I said, Stephen mentioned you. Straight away, you've got an in.
Yeah.
It really is. Because people are suspicious, especially even on LinkedIn or whatever. You're getting, I don't know about you, but I'm getting 10 to 15 every day. We want to do your marketing, we want to do your
Yeah.
SEO.
Yeah.
You get it
Yeah.
on your mail. So people don't like what I call junk
Well,
connections.
it's the
So when
automated side of, isn't it? It's the hey Stephen, great to connect, where they've not put any effort in. That's what riles me up.
there's a lot of Stevens, Stephen, you, what I mean is, Stephen, you and lots of other people who are got connections, you've got a presence online or whatever. And just from them people you meet, they can, like you, if you get on well with them, they can connect you to someone. And that connection is gold dust
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
people need to know who you are. And as soon as you know someone they know, and that person goes, this is a friend of mine, Bob, straight away, oh, all right, Bob, they'll listen and they'll believe and they won't think you're
Yeah.
after
It gives
something
a
bad.
line of credibility, right?
Yeah.
And I
So
mean, for you now, obviously back then when you were proving that concept, if we fast forward to now, what would you say are some of the problems that you're seeing that businesses have? Because, like you said, SMEs is the term SME for me is such a broad term anyway now, and it's a dangerous term because often it's based on size, but actually more and more companies now are being way more streamlined than ever in terms of having less size of teams and producing more. So it's always interesting when we talk about SMEs and, like you said, the micro businesses there, sort of the below nine, that actually even those companies which were traditionally much more, I guess, local and, family orientated, that kind of thing, is now actually huge companies that are still classed as SMEs, which is interesting. But what problems are you seeing now in the marketplace from where you're sat?
well, obviously, COVID's a big problem. And I really think the small businesses have had a bad break. I mean, with respect, you've got supermarkets open. Yes, we need them open. But what's wrong with a small shop having a few customers in? And what I also think, Stephen, the big problem is rents. The governments have subsidised the rents while this is happening. But the main problems they've got, obviously, is tech experience. How are you going to compete with a corporate when you don't understand tech? By the way, I don't understand plumbing. I don't understand electrician. Do you understand? It's not a case of
Yeah, we know what we
intelligence.
know.
It's a case, yeah, we know what we know, and I would be stupid if I tried to be an electrician. I wouldn't know what to do. So it's in a different world. But also you've got things like websites. Now there's nearly 6 million SMEs in the UK. I know what you mean by broad term because really the majority is the micros, 0 to 9,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they're the ones I really worry about. But the ones up to 50 people or even 500 people can be classed as small to medium. But they bring in half the economy of the country, so they're very, very important. So website, I think somewhere in the region of 1.8 million SMEs do not have a website.
Wow.
Now, so how are we going to go on pay per click? A lot of them can't afford them. All right, they're using these people now. I realise what they're doing. They're
Yeah.
using Instagram, and it works well for them. But also things like keywords. I don't understand keywords. They say or search for display because if they go on display, the small businesses, they're not Heineken or Coca Cola that's gets good mileage out of display. They should be
Yeah,
on the
these
search, but
SMEs don't have
they
huge
don't
budgets
understand.
for massive productions, things like this.
And also as well, little things like optimization, because they might cobble together a website, but then it's not optimized for iOS and Android. So they haven't got that skill. But the two main things I think, Stephen, are obviously money. We can talk about that, but time. Because if you're a small business, you get up and you're doing your work. You haven't got time to mess around for 2 hours, 3 hours on a computer trying to work out these things. And but money's the big one, obviously.
Well, time's an interesting one, but I would probably add a third one in that, in terms of awareness, because I think a lot of SMEs and the smaller type businesses just aren't aware of the tech that they can tap into. They aren't aware of the solutions that are out there, and I think that's because a lot of these solutions have a front, like on the front door of it, let's say, it just seems like it's very, like I said earlier, it's hugely overwhelming for a lot of people, and it's, especially if they've fallen into business, which I think a lot of, that those 1.9 million people without websites are probably those that have kind of done it from a passion or fallen into these sort of businesses. How do you bridge that gap then? How do you bridge the gap between getting in front of these SMEs and then educating them to be like, well, actually, this is the right way to do things?
Do you know, Stephen, that's a really good question because that is what Tippzi is about. I mean, we want these small businesses to know we're there. Now, the hurdles we will get, and yeah, actually, it probably is the big barrier. A bit like the barrier of trying to get started, knowing the right people. Yeah. It's like these small businesses, they're very, very independent. They've got their own stream, and it's very hard to come in because they're getting people saying, "Hey, do SEO." They don't understand what SEO is, and also they can't afford. And what happens? They can't afford hundreds or thousands of pounds or whatever. But what we do is, the reason we're doing it is we are going to be £1 a day. Now, if you go on, if you're a micro business, you'll spend £200-300 a week. If you're what you said, an SME per se, you can spend £2,000 or £3,000 a week. So £1 a day is affordable, but there comes the thing: you've got to help. You've got to get that social impact. A bit like Uber. Uber helped people, did something to help socially. So we're going to go about that element of being socially responsible, telling the people on the social media, hey, help shop local, help small businesses, join Tippzi. Because there's nothing more important than the viral, using your TikToks, using your YouTube, using your live streams or whatever. But we want to get the message out there that we're cool, we're fun. When they see us more online, they'll get that more confidence. But we need to push forward one thing, affordable. Because especially after COVID, Stephen, they've got no money. They've got no money whatsoever. And you're right, they're frightened of using these businesses because they don't know what they're going to get back. They don't know if they spend £100 a week, they might make £400 worth of business back.
Yeah, if they've never done it before, it's such an untangible thing for them to go and do. But what's the biggest hurdle for you then? What's the biggest hurdle for you to get these clients on board? Because I think that's really interesting in terms of what we're talking about now and that mindset of them.
The most important thing always, any business, is trust. Trust. They must trust your brand. They must trust you, because they've got all these things I don't want to mention, but you probably know there's a lot of what I call the coupon things, doing deals. And what the public don't know is that they're charging the SMEs between 44 and 50% of what they earn. So they're not making a margin. So when we go there and say, look, put a deal on here, £1 a day, they might think, oh, what's it going to cost me? They don't believe it's just £1 a day. So getting that across will be important. And also we're going to do, because of COVID, we're going to do somewhere in the region of £250,000 of help, even with the real small business, 1 or 2 or 3 people, we're going to help them. That's why anybody who's listening to me, Stephen, if they're a small business, get in touch, or they want to partner with us in any way or whatever, just get in touch with me and we'll do deals, because this is the situation everybody's in at the moment. The world has changed in 7 months. Everybody's looking for a deal. Everybody's looking for help. We want to help businesses. And but then again, Stephen, I have mentioned that we've also in our tech, we work on geolocation, which means it's fair because we don't go to the one who's paying the most, like on search engines.
Yeah.
We go to the nearest shop to you, the nearest whatever, the nearest plumber, the nearest
All about
decorator.
local.
Yeah, so that makes it a level playing field as against horizontal ads on search and display. And but also we've got a feature within us, augmented reality, which we are doing something incredible with it as we speak. I've got a lot of people working on this where we can add augmented reality into digital advertising. And this will be good for big brands as well, like your Heineken's, your Coca-Colas, and whatever, because AR means a way of engaging with the consumer.
Yeah.
And that's, and actually, Mark Zuckerberg's the one last year, he said, you've got the internet, then you've got the smartphones. Next thing is AR. AR really is hot. I think 9.92% of businesses, brands use AR now, and it's going to increase. And we've made sure, because the thing is, Stephen, when you build a concept, if you don't bring a technology in when you're creating it, it's very difficult to slip it in.
Yeah.
So we already had AR there. We had augmented reality in there. But then when we had people using it, they were just knocked out. So you listen to the customers. So we've increased that element of Tippzi.
Great. I mean, for you, what's the next? Because you obviously you're putting a lot of time and effort into creating a new platform, a new service, and rejigging Tippzi a little bit. With COVID in mind, has that changed how you're doing your business? Has that changed how you're running your business in terms of actually Tippzi?
Yes. If
I
you
thought you were just going to go, no.
no, I think Stephen, the most, and by the way, I got this from Zuckerberg, Bezos, everybody listening to it. When you're in tech, you've got to adjust. You've got to adjust all the time. Be ready to change everything around. Now, what we could have done is, right, the small businesses not operating, we work on helping the small businesses. So what we did in this several months is we thought, right, what we'll do now is this gives us time because we've analysed for 2 or 3 years what they want. So now we're improving the tech, doing the dev, doing the AR system. So now what we're doing is we'll be ready because, Stephen, no one knows where. I've been speaking to people, when's this going to finish? There's talk about vaccines coming in a couple of months or whatever. But when's this going to finish?
Unknown.
Exactly. So what we want to do is we want to be there. We want to be there for small business because they're going to need us because, quite frankly, they couldn't afford the big people, the big three. They couldn't afford them before. So let's afford them with no budget. But what we'll do is we'll help them. Even if I've got to give away hundreds of thousands of free advertising, we're going to help them get going. We're going to get that trust. We're also going to get the consumers to get on board with hashtag shop local, which Tippzi is, because if you don't help your small businesses, your local economy, your house prices, everything will go down. And also, I was speaking the other day about my mother. You know, she's getting on a bit. She don't want to tell you that, but
I will now send this to her specifically.
Be careful with your mothers. But basically, one of their shops closed down that she used to go to just like 200 yards away. So now she's got to get on a bus. And when you're elderly, these small businesses closing down. These small businesses are more important than people think. So we don't want this happening. We want small businesses operating. And by the way, you know these ones that are closing down, Stephen? You can have pop-ups, you can have shops, you can generate the economy, get the young people out there.
Fill them up.
And
I'm a big believer that like local high street should be as independent as possible. I think that's what makes it unique. That's what makes it special. And there's a town near me where that is pretty much it. Every shop on the high street is independently owned, which is it just creates a completely different feel to that high street, and I think that's what's needed. But this is obviously hugely important to you, hugely passionate for you, and I'm curious to know why. I'm curious to know why you're so passionate about it. Why do you get up every morning and sort of try and combat this problem?
Well, Stephen, first of all, I've got a fantastic team. But Stephen, I just don't understand. You was on about gentrification just now, whatever. But you
Hmm.
do. You go to every high street, it looks the same. Everyone's the
Hmm.
same. So the same people are making money off the UK. Now, I believe in an open society, but what happens is they get somewhere and they have a load of shops, and these places where the independents are, the rents are extortionately high. Now, the government should help with the rents for these in these small cliquey areas. I don't understand why they don't help the businesses with these rents, because I believe a lot of them are closing because of rents only
Hmm.
and business rates. I mean, they're just extortionate. And you can see the closing down. And you know what? There's nothing worse even than boarded up shops.
Yeah.
I've seen it. I went through somewhere recently and there's 10 shops, 7 are boarded up. You get crime. It just happens. Crime comes from it. You lose faith in your local community. There's cohesion loses because these
Hmm.
shops, there's a lot of cultural shops, Stephen, I see. And the local communities merge at them and they chat and they socialize, and it just brings a friendliness to the community. And with all these boarded up shops, you get trouble. It just happens. And
Hmm.
also, as you said, house prices are come down, which makes people less well off, less less pride in themselves. And I think helping small businesses is a bigger thing, because if you get a shop, Stephen, and it's a micro business and it's got 3 people, then 3 people might have 12, 7 or 8 children,
Not
that they're
each.
looking for. Well, between
Well, it depends where
between
we are in the country here. It's quite possible.
well, my parents had 5, so I know what you mean.
That's
But
still
what I'm
under.
saying,
Still under.
Stephen, is Stephen. But when they're making their living. And by the way, a lot of these people are not making much money, but they don't want to go to the state. Now, when they're closed, this is what I don't understand about closing the council rates and whatever. Now, when that closes down, the government have got to support them and the children.
Hmm.
So we're losing here.
Yeah.
Everyone's losing out.
It's a vicious.
Support the
It's a vicious
businesses.
cycle.
It definitely is a vicious cycle. But basically, we should be helping them. That will help the local economy, help people. Also, do you know what? Pride.
Mm.
People. I know people. I've been around 1,000 businesses, Stephen, when I've been working with Tippzi, looking at getting my ear to the ground. And some of these people, they make nothing.
Yeah.
They don't complain though, Stephen. Do you know what? It's their life. They're doing something. They
And they
work
love it.
hard.
That's the
Oh,
thing.
they get
Even
up.
even if it's I've seen that before where small business and it's highly stressful. They're, like you said, they're not making any money. From the outside in, you just think, well, why are you doing that? Why are you spending your time on that? And the love of what they're doing sort of overpowers anything else in terms of the negatives, which is quite, I guess, poetic to see. But I guess with more help from people like you and I think, like, we come back to that education side of things. If we bring up the education and the awareness of businesses and the awareness of what they can have access to, and not just small businesses, but any business, any owner, I think has access to such an amazing amount of tools and software out there that they don't have to just think, oh, the only solution is to spend X amount of money per week or per month on ads or whatever that solution is that they're currently being sold to. That actually there's much more low budget or lower budget solutions out there. There's free solutions out there as well. And I think if you're coupling what your service offers and what your solution is with that education and that awareness, I think that's the sweet spot. That's where you're really making a change there, which is so good to see.
I think you've made a good point there, Stephen, because you're right. When I was on about they don't have experience in tech, they don't understand it, but it's that trust issue. The need. If you had an uncle who's like you or me or whatever, we could say, "Hey, by the way, you can go on. I'll help you go on Google, do this,
Hmm.
do that, go on the ads and whatever like that." But people haven't got that. You haven't
Yeah.
got that support system. Whereas when you're a big business, Stephen, you might have 1,000 people. You've got experts doing this,
Yeah. And you can
saving money
afford
as
to, though.
well.
That's the thing. The people can afford to do that. I think the pride bit that you spoke about a minute ago also comes into that. They don't want to ask for help, right? People don't want to go out there and say, hey, can you help me? Whereas they will Google a solution, and that's probably where they end up not always buying the correct solution. Google is obviously going to show you the ones that are either paying the most or the ones that have the best sort of optimized websites. So you may not end up with that right product, but when people start to ask for help, when people start to, again, bring back that awareness and that education, that's when the solutions that they seem to find coincidentally just happen to be a hell of a lot better.
Do you know what? You're right about the pride thing as well, because people don't want to look stupid or feel stupid. But it's that thing again that I said to you earlier. If someone asked me to mend a washer or something, a skill like that, I'd be stupid. I don't understand it. Doesn't mean I'm stupid. But you're right, they don't understand tech. They can. By the way, one good thing about Tippzi I never said is to use Tippzi is as easy as using Facebook. So we haven't got that problem, because it's just your name, your address, put your pictures up, and you can also get a free web page. You can put your pictures up, your links, and whatever like that. So
make it as easy as possible for people.
Oh yeah, I mean, a lot of people use. Someone recently used Tippzi last year, got their 8-year-old, I think, to set up a Tippzi profile. But we wanted it like that.
But that 8-year-old probably has like 1 million followers on TikTok.
You'd be surprised, actually. But it's got to be easy. And do you know the biggest word in apps? And someone told me this several years ago when I was starting. The most important word in apps is the one word: convenience. Mm-hmm. It's got to be quick.
Yeah, 100%.
People don't hang about things. They bounce. It's called bouncing off it. If they're not happy, they're filling in and it gets a bit jittery, they go, forget it. And that's why 98% of apps only used twice or 3 times, because once people don't know what to do, they just leave it.
Short attention span now. But listen, Vince, one of my final questions to you then is, how can people find out more about Tippzi? How can people get in touch with you? What's the easiest way, or should I say the most convenient way for them to do that?
No, thank you, Stephen, and thank you for a great interview. Basically, I'm Vince. I'm the founder, CEO of Tippzi. Any small businesses, any brands, because we've got an AR, new augmented reality concept to help brands engage with consumers. Any investors come in. Everyone's always looking for money. You know that, Stephen, in every business. But also, I'm Vince. You can get me on LinkedIn, Vince Patten, or you can message me, info@tippzi.com, and my CMO will get a hold of you. And just phone and say hello, whether you're a brand, whether you're a small business, or whether you just want any help, because we also help people, Stephen. You said something about people wanting something free. We've helped people get free stuff and how to use Instagram, because we are out there to help people. And we believe doing that is the most important word. Because if people trust our brand, they will use our brand, Stephen.
Yeah, exactly that. And you're hugely passionate, and it's so clear that you care, which is so refreshing to see as well. So I wish you all the best with Tippzi. No doubt that you guys will be going from strength to strength. I mean, you've been around for long enough now that you're going to carry on going that way. So Vince, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your wisdom, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Stephen. Good luck with the Founders 365.
Thank you so much, and thanks everyone else for listening and watching. This has been Founders 365.